Yes,
as well?
please.
Okay.
Recording or okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We're group 40, MiSu version 3, sponsored by Dr. Fernando Wisniewski and Dr. Lina Alwandi from the Star Lab. My name is Diego Cruz. I'm an AWS backend developer.
My name is Jeffrey Ramos. I'm also an AWS backend developer.
I'm Nicholas Steeman, a backend AWS developer.
Hello, my name is Kenley Rodriguez, and I work solely as a front-end developer on this project. And my name is Cristobal Sepulveda. I am both a project manager and full stack developer on this project.
All right, so what is MiSu? Currently, smart home owners, homeowners that have smart devices, they want to have full control when it comes to sharing their devices. Current smart app applications allow only for all or nothing access, meaning a guest gets either full access to a device or no access at all. There is no current app that allows for specific device sharing along with the device actions and attributes. The solution is MiSu. MiSu is designed for homeowners to selectively decide which smart device they want to share with their guests and which specific attributes, actions they want to share with those guests. Okay, this application will be later be used to conduct research studies to examine the human-computer interaction regarding to security and access control.
So Expo is an open source platform and framework built around React Native. We essentially use this to run our emulators both on iOS and Android. And it's allowed us to do some quick testing during the development phase of this project. It provides us with many tools and out-of-the-box solutions. For example, we have push notifications, location, secure store, and video stream player. These are integral to our the functionality that we added to this app. And just as a heads up, as we are on the UCF network, there may be some hiccups as we do our demo, as the emulator requires a strong connection to the server. Aside from that, here we have Home Assistant. This is the software that's running on the Raspberry Pi that the homeowner will have. This is the way that we've been using or having access to the services that the devices provide on the front end of the MiSu app. And more specifically, the version that we decided to go with is Home Assistant Supervisor. This is the version of Home Assistant that gives us the most access and permissions to use community developed integrations and add-ons that has allowed us to even further extend the amount of services that these devices provide.
All right, so here's a look at the system design. So first, for the front end, we have a React Native to run on Android and iOS devices, which calls the Amazon Web Services API Gateway. That is our backend, which we're connecting to Lambda functions, which is our server side with Node.js. We're using a DynamoDB database, S3 storage specifically for hub connection kits for the users, CloudWatch to monitor the server, an IoT core to connect to a user's home using Home Assistant, which Jeff described. And the Home Assistant controls the smart devices by running on a Raspberry Pi inside the user's home. So here's some completed goals. First is remote device access. The previous team was using a paid cloud service for a Home Assistant access called Mqtt. It required a $5 subscription, and we wanted to eliminate that with our app because we didn't want the users to have to pay for something that they're not even going to get all the features for. And to replace this, we use the AWS IoT Core and AWS IoT Device Python SDK, which essentially all made by Amazon, which connects your in-home smart device hub to the Amazon server. So the user can download the package and run the installer to download this on the Raspberry Pi. And they download the installer from the MiSu website, which we made. It allows them to download the connection kit using their MiSu credentials saved from the app. We made this quickly using AWS Amplify. They can come on the website and just download the package.
What other goal that we completed was removing scripts. Previously, instead of having a device itself, there was a script for each action of that device, meaning turn on, turn off, etc. Instead, we replace those with the device itself and those actions. So we access the device directly along with their actions, attributes, etc. Right. So for the new smart devices that we integrated the Ring doorbell using the Mqtt. We were able to get all of its attributes, and more importantly, the Ring live stream. Another device that we fully integrated was the Ring alarm system, again using the Home Assistant Mqtt integration. We were able to integrate the alarm along with all of its sub-devices, meaning contact sensors, smoke listeners, alarms, keypad, etc. Homeowners and guests, if decided they're able to arm the alarm, disarm it, and get notifications about any tamper or changes on the device.
Ring Mqtt is a community developed integration that has allowed us to access the devices that are associated with the Ring alarm, such as contact sensor, smoke alarm, motion detector. It uses Mqtt, that Mqtt broker, to communicate between the add-on, the Ring Mqtt add-on, and the Ring alarm devices. All the user needs to do is sign into their Ring account through the UI provided by Home Assistant and create their refresh token. And that's essentially how it communicates from Home Assistant to the user's Ring alarm devices.
All right, so geofencing is a feature that the previous team supposedly implemented. However, when we tested, wasn't quite working. So we got it working. And the whole use case of this is that the homeowner can restrict access to their devices for their guests when they are inside a set radius from their home. So they can set a radius within the app in the settings, and then they can press a button to grab their location to set their home location and toggle geofencing on for guests for certain devices that restricts their access to the devices.
Does that mean those devices have to have GPS enabled?
No, it tracks the homeowner user
Okay.
with the expo.
All right, moving on to my favorite topic, front end. There are a couple of major requirements and goals that we've had for the front end as assigned by our sponsor. First one being to add an onboarding process. Now, this is pretty important, especially for MiSu, the MiSu application, because it's definitely not the most intuitive app to learn as well as set up. Also, Dr. Wisniewski really would like to eventually use this app for research purposes. So it would be great to, if new users were able to download the app and immediately learn how to use it as well. The second requirement is to add an interface for the new devices that we've given compatibility within MiSu, such as the Ring doorbell and alarm system. Another major requirement that our sponsor really emphasized the importance of is adding uniformity between both major mobile operating systems, which of course are Android and iOS. The two previous teams that worked on this project, both of them did not have anybody in their group that owned an Apple device, nor did they ever test the application on one either. Now, me being the only person in our group that owns both a MacBook and an iPhone, I was the first person to try to launch the app on an Apple device. Initially, it didn't work, and it was basically unusable. But after adding a couple things, I finally got it to load up. And even after I got it to start working on an iPhone, it was clear to see that the previous team really tried to make the app look good just on one device, which was basically a Pixel 3 that they were testing it on. Now, this is a big reason why we needed to do a major redesign overhaul. Also, I think that it's kind of important to mention that 4 out of the 5 team members on the last team worked on the front end. So the interface throughout the application was not consistent since they failed to use global style sheets, and each page that each team member worked on looked a little bit different. Now you can see on an iPhone 13 compared to the Pixel 3, there are a lot of differences. One being that for most screens on iOS, there are 2 back buttons. For some buttons, they went a little bit crazy on the shadows, and some buttons they didn't. And you can even see some buttons going off the screen. This was a big trend when we initially tested the app on multiple different devices. Next slide. So after reading and understanding their code base, I took it upon myself to really put an effort and redesign almost every single screen. With the help of Chris, we added basically, we had basically changed almost every single component in every single file. And if you know React, you would know that components are basically used everywhere. I've updated our UI by attempting to make the app appear much more modern, as well as look appropriate on various size screens and both operating systems as well. I've done this by using flex boxes and screen dimensions and percentages. So now the MiSu app looks clean and great on all devices and even iPads and tablets. I would like to give a quick shout out to Dr. Leinecker for recommending to use this application back in Poo's class, processes of object-oriented software development class. Figma is I just wanted to make sure everyone knew what that class was. Figma is a graphics editor tool that allowed me to quickly create prototypes of ideas or potential new designs that we could possibly add to our application. And specifically for such visual people like myself and Dr. Wisniewski, it definitely helped to communicate my ideas and help Dr. Wisniewski to understand them as well. And I'm also glad that I have had the chance to work with Dr. Wisniewski because she had been able to give me great feedback regarding UX, UI design. She was also always very responsive and quick when reached out for any advice on Skype. She had also mentioned in one of our meetings that she liked my design eye. Now I know that doesn't sound like much, but coming from her, that was a major one. All right, thank you, Kenley. You guys can hear me okay? Everything good?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, so another feature that we wanted to add that was, I believe one of the most crucial was having real-time logs and real-time notifications within the app. So the existing version 2 application had a log screen. However, it would not log every thing that needs to be logged. For a homeowner, for example, we want to know, we want the homeowner to be able to know what guests use their device, how they use their devices, when and where they use their devices. We also want to know if a guest has left their hub, accepted their invitation. We just want the homeowner to have overall peace of mind when it comes to sharing their devices. And for this, we want to make sure that these logs are appearing properly and in real time. So the way we did this was to replace a lot of the REST APIs that we were using to fetch the logs and instead connect to a WebSocket server that we set up on AWS. The way it'll work is that when the app launches, we fetch all of the existing logs that pertain to that user, whether they're a homeowner or a guest. And then we use a listener that updates and renders new logs as the WebSocket sends any device updates or any messages pertaining to something that the guest did or something that the homeowner did. Specifically, we also really made sure that guests were only being notified of things that the homeowner wanted them to be notified about. So a guest will only be notified of a device change or of a device being used if they have access to that device. Also, if they have access to only one specific feature or 2 specific features within that device, they'll only be notified if there's any change involving those features. They won't be notified of anything that they do not have access to, as well as if anything is limiting their access, whether it's schedule, geofencing, we'll take that into account when deciding whether or not we want them to be notified. Improving the functionality, I believe, was one of the major undertakings, especially at the beginning in the first semester and at the beginning of this semester. Overall, we had to remove a lot of just unnecessary code. There was a lot of broken code that was limiting our progress at the start. And one of the major undertakings was also restructuring the entire Redux architecture, which is the tool that they use to be able to handle global state changes. And also it allowed us to be able to manage any real-time state changes throughout the app to make sure everything is flowing smoothly and all the information that's being displayed is being displayed in real time. We also had to make app interactions a lot more responsive. The previous version, a lot of the times you would press certain buttons and it would take a few seconds to do the action that you wanted to do. And that's usually because it was trying to access the backend. One of the ways we fixed this was optimizing the functions and the API calls that we were using. We also optimized a lot of the backend, so that started working faster. And for anything like you will see today later, such as like trying to access live stream or trying to interact with certain devices where it might take a few seconds and there's nothing we can really do about that, we make sure that the app itself gives some feedback so the user isn't left wondering if their interaction actually went through. We've also made sure to preload a lot of necessary data, combine any screens that had repetitive info to not overwhelm the users, and just fix bugs and general security vulnerabilities throughout the application. So for project progress and administrative details, the way we coordinated this year was we used Skype to have communication between the development team and the sponsor. Discord was used more for internal communication between developers. We also, through Discord, we were able to have a daily stand-up bot called Orly, which allowed us to every day, even if we didn't meet, be able to jot down what we've worked on, what we're stuck on, what we need help on. And so everyone was always in the know of what's going on, what progress is being made, etc. We also use GitHub for general storyboarding and version control. So some significant decisions we had to make these past 2 semesters. I believe the main one was just deciding how we wanted to add these new features. And after a while, we realized that we would be doing a disservice to both ourselves and to our sponsor if we just added new features to existing broken code. So we decided we wanted to repair the foundation of this application. Once that foundation was repaired, we felt comfortable to start adding new features, knowing that once we leave, everything that we're leaving behind is working properly, and it's easier if any future teams need to work on this. They will not struggle the same way we did when we started working on the application. Another significant decision was realizing the necessity to replace the paid cloud service for Home Assistant, Mqtt. We came to the decision that both for the end user and also for our sponsor, it was in both of their best interests that we get rid of this paid service and try to create our own solution. Also, something that we've decided on later in the first semester was starting to shift to more security focused smart devices as opposed to focusing on original devices that we planned on adding like Google Home or possibly like Alexa or something. We decided that having more security focused devices would make more sense, especially for the sponsor's needs. So this involves things such as like the ring alarm system, any smoke alarms or listeners, cameras, etc. Like Kenley was mentioning before, we also decided, while it wasn't one of the original requirements, we decided that it was imperative for us to add some sort of step-by-step onboarding feature to make it easier for new users to get accustomed to the application. And with that, we also decided to automate more of the hub setup for them as well. Some challenges we had, like we were mentioning before, just a general slow transition from version 2. There was a lot of messy inherited code, some bad coding practices. So this whole year definitely was a big lesson on how to work with bad code and improve on it, how to get past those obstacles. Overall lack of app onboarding or device integration documentation also made us struggle a lot in the first semester. Also, between both the sponsor and us, there were some project objectives that we sort of weren't 100% on. Like I mentioned before, the shift to more security oriented devices came a little bit later on in the first semester. So that required us to kind of shift where we planned on taking the app. But all these things, of course, gave us new lessons and taught us how we can like adapt to any changes, even if they're last minute. And last but not least, completed goals. So I'm proud to say that we've completed the majority of the changes we wanted to make. We fixed almost every bug that was left behind from the inherited code. We've ironed out a lot of the existing functionality. I believe vastly improved the UI and the general user experience. Adding iOS compatibility, I believe, is one of the biggest things that we were able to do. So now we don't just have half of the market that's able to use our application. integrating those security smart devices like the Ring doorbell and Ring alarm system was definitely a big win. Implementing the GPS location-based feature of geofencing, having real-time user logs, device information, and also replacing Nabu Casa and having a more efficient, cost-efficient way of doing remote access for both homeowners and guests. So that's it for the presentation, for the PowerPoint slides. Let's shift to the video.
And do a quick video demo.
Yeah.
Okay. So we pre-recorded this first part of our demo because a lot of the onboarding process and registration process for our application it can take a while. And so we didn't want to, for the sake of time, have to go through all of this live. So first we'll show you, you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we are in the MiSu app. We want to register a new account. So I will be registering an account here. Asking for your name, general things like email, password. It makes sure that your password meets our standards for security reasons. Once you've entered your password, it asks you whether you want to select your user type as a guest or an owner. Despite this choice, this is just how you will load in. A user will always have the chance to switch between a guest or a homeowner view within the app. So after you create your account, it will send you a confirmation code to your email. You enter that confirmation code. Once your email has been confirmed, you can log in. Here, I'm just showing how you can confirm your code later if you need to, instead of immediately. Or you could also, like, if you forgot your password, change your password. Here, I will be logging in. Here I demonstrate, not on purpose, but accidentally did mistype my password. But there you can show that that's working as well. So here we come in, and because we are a homeowner, we send them to the homeowner onboarding slides. If they logged in as a guest for the first time, they will also see the guest onboarding slides. They're both relatively similar. They just have some differing information, just information that pertains more to that type of user. So here it just talks about the different types of things that you can do within the app, what the purpose of the app is. It also asks you for accepting certain permissions that the application might need, whether you want to turn on notifications or turn on location. Here we will just be turning on location. And because it was already accessed, access was already granted, it pops up that you've already granted that access. Here it just shows quick bullet points on how a homeowner can make sure that their experience is successful, just making sure the smart hub is connected properly, all their devices on Home Assistant are connected properly, etc. From there, it checks whether or not you already have a hub registered. In this case, since you don't have a hub registered, it will take you to this screen, the register hub screen. From there, on Home Assistant, you will be given a hub token. And if you enter this hub token and register, that will create a package on the MiSu website that you can download, install on your Raspberry Pi, and get the devices to start showing up on our app. So once you log in, just a brief, little introduction to the dashboard screen. It'll highlight minor things, just like here's how you can toggle between guests or devices, here how you can add a guest. And after you add a guest for the first time, it'll also like walk you through the process of what you can do with that guest. In this case, since we don't have the package installed on our Pi yet, we don't have any devices and therefore don't have a fully registered hub. So in this case, we can't add guests yet. As you can see on the profile screen, if you try to go to your hub, it'll show that the MiSu connection package has not yet been installed on your Pi. So make sure to go to the website and install that. And I'll hand it off to Nick.
Yep. So here's the MiSu website. And you can come here and log in with your MiSu login credentials that you have from the app. It even has a forgot your password functionality. Once you sign in, you can click download and it'll give you your connection package that was made specifically for your hub. So it's not just any package, it's specifically for you. So here's a Raspberry Pi. I'm running it in a VM just to show the installation. So I created a README so that the user can easily just follow 4 step-by-step instructions of installing this package. It's not a complete seamless, just double click like in Windows. For Linux, you have to do a little bit more permission stuff. So they have to put a couple of commands in here to give file permissions. Once they do, they can just double click the installer file which will just run and download all of the, once we see, double click install.sh, that will install the AWS IoT SDK, restart the Pi. Once the Pi is up and running, it will automatically send your devices to the server and automatically receive any incoming requests from the server. And it'll even auto restart if the Pi ever disconnects or turns off and on. So they don't have to worry about that anymore. So that's that.
Thank you, Nick. And from now, we will move on to the actual live demonstration of the app. We'll be showing us logging into some existing accounts and run through some general scenarios where you could use this application.
All right, let me just make sure. Right.
I'm not sharing my screen anymore, correct?
I see your, on, you mean
On Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me just get
Okay.
everything ready. So here
Sure.
everything good?
Yeah, I just want to refresh it because Expo is weird.
Okay. So here on the left, you can see a homeowner view, and on the right, you'll see two different guest views. One is on Android and one is on iOS. And here we will create a scenario. So I'm signing into the account MiSu test. We will name this person in honor of our one of our supervisors for this project, Lena. So we will name the owner, the homeowner, in this case, Lena. The Android user is Chris, and then the iOS user will be Kenley.
Oh,
Make
let me
sure to
refresh
reload.
my. Yeah, Expo. Where is my emulator? Yes.
Did you have your emulator running this whole time?
Yeah, it should
Yeah.
have been running.
It times out after a while, so
Yeah,
probably why.
gotta run it on Android.
Let me know when you're able to get it.
Yeah, it's still loading. There you go.
Okay.
All
So you're
righty.
logged into both the Chris account and the Kenley account.
Yes, this is Chris.
So
And
in this scenario, our homeowner, Lena, is going on a camping trip. And so she knows that she most likely will not have signal on this trip that she's going. So she won't have access to many of her smart devices. But so in this case, we can see that her devices are the smart lock, the Ring doorbell, the Ring alarm system, and a dimmable LED light bulb. While she's on her trip, she has a dog sitter that will be coming to visit her or visit her house, and she knows that she needs to give him access to be able to enter the house, first of all, as well as turn on any lights necessary. So for this reason, the dog sitter in this case will be Chris. So I will be giving access. Here I can add a new guest. Okay. And I can also add Kenley. Kenley in this case, while I know I'm going to be on a trip that I might not have any signal, I want Kenley to be able to have access to my Ring doorbell or my alarm system in case I'm not able to detect that my alarm goes off, or maybe someone rings my doorbell, someone drops off a package. I want him to be able to be taking care of that. So I will give Kenley access as well. Here I give them access by putting in their email. And a hub has been successfully invited. So if Kenley sees the notification, he can accept it. And then if I refresh, it shows that they both have accepted my invitations. So here I know that I want Kenley to have access to just my Ring devices. I don't need him to come over. I just need him to keep an eye on things. So I will give him access to my Ring doorbell and also my Ring alarm system. So I'll add those devices to him. And then for Chris, I will be adding the lock as well as the light. So here I will add a smart lock. And just to show the other functionality, if you want to instead of adding a device to a guest, you could also add or a guest to a device. You could also do it on the other way where you can add a specific device to a guest. So I also want them to have access to the light bulb. So here we can see that it's been updated, and now both my dog sitter and my friend who's going to be watching my house has the devices that I want them to have. If they go to the devices themselves, so Chris can go to the lock, and then Kenley can go to the doorbell. So for Kenley, I want him to have access to the doorbell at any time. There's no specific schedule I want him set to, so I can give it always access. And once I give him always access, you can see that that's updated for him, but he still doesn't have any access to any sensors within this application. So here I can enable all of them or just choose specific ones. So let's say I just want him to be able to view motion if someone rang the doorbell and the live stream. Yep. So here you can see that both motion sensor and lasting time are there, as well as live view. I could also just choose to enable all or disable all. And you can see now he has access to viewing the battery level. Those are all the different properties of a Ring doorbell that you can share access to. For my dog sitter, I also want them to have access. Hold on. All right, the emulator is being slow. Let me just refresh.
That was more often than not.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so the Android emulator bugs out occasionally. It's easier to do on physical devices, but because I'm not there, I don't want to be showing my physical device on the camera. All right, so where were we? For Chris, I want him to have just specific scheduled access. So I don't want him to be able to enter my house before 10 a.m. and I don't want him to be coming after like 10 p.m. or something. So I can schedule the specific thing. I also don't want, if I forget to revoke any access when I get back, I don't want him to possibly be able to come into my house. So I can schedule the specific days I want him to have access. So let's say I am going to be gone between Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I want him to have access between 12 p.m. and here 12:34 p.m. starting on Tuesday to what time do we want to set it to? Let's set it 9 p.m. Hold on. Okay, the emulator likes to refresh here. I'll just quickly do that. Schedule weekly, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, set time, 12 p.m., set time, 8 p.m., start date today, and the end date, we can have it be Thursday. When that is when I'll be back from my trip. So once I save that, we can see that the schedule updates on my end, and it should also update for Kenley. We could also see if you go to the logs for Chris, I believe. Go to the logs. There you can see that the MiSu test, I, as the homeowner MiSu test, modified the schedule for the smart lock. It also shows that I've been giving them access to these different properties within the device. So you can go back to the device, Kenley. Despite this, he still shows no controls available. I want him to be able to both lock and unlock my door. So I gave him access to both. Awesome. And so now we can, Lena, if you want to grab the lock.
As you can see here,
So the lock, yeah, it's currently locked.
Yeah.
And Kenley
Yeah.
wants to get into the house, or Chris wants to get into the house to do his job as a dog sitter. So we click unlock. It opens. We can see as a homeowner, I receive a log that Cristobal performed the unlock on smart lock. We can also see that if we refresh on the screen, Is it not updating for you?
No.
Why is it not?
Literally never happens.
It's the demo gods.
Yeah, the demo god
Yeah.
just got us.
The logs, they will come in real time.
Yeah.
It says unlocked on the logs, but not on here.
Okay. We'll just continue with the light bulb. So Lena, do you have the light bulb behind you?
Yeah.
Here, because the dog sitter, I don't want him to be able to come in and out of my home just during certain, I only want them to be able to come in and out during certain times, but the light, I don't care if they always have access, so I can schedule it between those days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all day, or I could just give them always access as well. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all day. Starting today and ending on Thursday. Okay. Oh, and so you can see that the schedule has updated. I can enable them to have all access. You refresh. Or they could only have access to one. So let's say I want him to not be able to turn on. I only want him to be able to turn it off. Let's say he turns on this light when he goes to walk my dog and forgets to turn it off. If he ever remembers after the fact, he doesn't need to go all the way back to turn it off. But for this scenario, I will leave them both on, and Lena, you can show the light. Okay, you can see that we received that they turned on the light bulb has turned on.
It's on now.
And we received that the state has updated properly. Right?
Demo gods.
Yeah. Now for Kenley, he doesn't need to have access to my lock or my light. He has access to my doorbell and my alarm system. So first, I want him to have all day access always for everything. I've already set that. And Lena, if you want, you can ring your doorbell. Now, if the demo gods allow it, we shouldn't be notified that the doorbell is ringing. It's not. But usually the reason doorbell doesn't notify and other devices doesn't notify is because the Home Assistant package is not updating, or the Home Assistant itself is not updating the device. And sometimes it's because Home Assistant requires you to refresh it. Kenley, you can join the live view. And here I get a log that Kenley has started viewing my Ring live stream. And here it takes a second or two, and then we're able to join the Ring live stream. This is currently at Lena's. We're getting a beautiful view of outside our window. So in a scenario where the doorbell rings, you would be notified that the doorbell is ringing, and then that is when you can go and check your front door. Also, so Kenley, you can go back. For the alarm system, I can give you access. I want him to always have access to anything in the alarm, just in case at any time when I don't have signal, even if I'm back from my camping trip, I want someone else to kind of be a backup in case anything gets triggered. So here I will be enabling all access to all the different types of arming and disarming, as well as I'll be enabling all access to the different sensors. Okay, so here I will be, Kenley will arm the home. And here in logs, we are notified that the Ring alarm system has changed from disarmed to armed home, and also the state updated properly here on the device permission screen and the guest device control screen. Kenley can disarm. And there's also different types of arming, such as arm away, arm vacation. These are just different settings that you can set up yourself in the Ring app and then use them here on our app as well. We could also, now that it's disarmed, we can mess with the sensors and not be afraid that the siren will go off. So Lena, you can start messing with the different sensors. That's the contact sensor. So we are notified that the contact sensor has been opened. We also see that the motion sensor is tripped. And also, if you were to have anyone tamper with any of your sensors, such as like taking the batteries out, breaking it, this will be you will be notified as well. Good. And me as a homeowner can view these devices myself, and I can use these devices myself too. So I also have notifications that the contact sensor and the motion sensor have been tripped. And I myself can also arm home or disarm as well. And then and then we can try to disarm. Okay. And we also, just to show it, we can arm away. And so I don't know if you can hear it, but it is currently beeping. Arm away is in a situation where you are leaving your house. So it gives you a 2-minute timer before the alarm is fully armed. And we see here, yeah. And we see here that it says arming in the logs. It says that your ring alarm system has changed from disarm to arming. And Kenley, since he is being shared this device, if he goes to logs, he will also see that the ring alarm has been changed to arming. Perfect. I will disarm that now. Okay. Once it's been disarmed, great. So now that we've shown you that the lock and light are working, the doorbell and the alarm system, these are the 4 devices that we have integration for now on this application. Let's see what's else. Let's say I'm getting back from my trip and I decide that I no longer want Kenley. I changed my mind. I no longer want Kenley to have any access to any of my devices. So I can just completely revoke access to him. Once that's been removed, he no longer is in my hub. But for Chris, because he's my dog sitter, I know that I'm going to need him to come back within 2 weeks because I'm going on another trip. So I decide that while right now I don't want him to have access, I can give him access later. So for now, I could either decide to, as a homeowner, disable just what they have access to. And then when I want to, 2 weeks later down the line, I can enable it back. I could also choose to just choose never, so they never have access, and later I can decide to give them always access or schedule it. Or in this case, if I know exactly when my trip is going to be, so in 2 weeks from now, I want him to have access again, and it's going to be this time on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I want him to have access all day this time, because this time he'll be staying with my dog overnight as well. I can give him access to that. It'll update, and then I can give him both the lock and unlock. And then Kenley, you can go on logs too, and it'll update there as well. Yep, you can see that I've gave him access to these different things, and I've also modified the schedule. If you go back to the device screen and try to use the device, you will not be able to. No access at this time. So 2 weeks time, when I need him to have access again, he will be given access. Lastly, as a homeowner, you can also go to your own logs, view the history of what's been going on. So you see how it shows that we've been arming and disarming. We are not told as a homeowner actions that we ourselves did. So if I shared access to someone, it's not going to show up in the logs because it is redundant to just notify a guest of something they did immediately after. We also decided that we can, as a homeowner, view logs that guests do not have access to. Okay, so I have both the logs of what Cristobal did and what Kenley did, as well as just general updates from my devices that don't necessarily pertain to something a guest did. Just so if someone unlocks my door manually, I will be notified of that as well. Okay. Last thing, we can log into Diego's account and show the geofencing feature. How's that sound, guys?
Sounds great.
Okay. This will be the very last. Let's make sure I remember your login. Okay. So I will be adding Kenley as a guest to this hub as well. Send him a request. And while I do that, I know that I want to set up geofencing. So let's say in this scenario, Kenley is going, I'm Diego and I am an Airbnb owner, and Kenley's coming to my Airbnb on a trip. I'm also going to be there, but I'm not going to be there for during the day, and I want him to have access to my devices while I'm gone. But whenever I'm home, I don't want him to be able to use my devices. I see no need for it. I can use my own devices when I'm there. So for that, we need to toggle geofencing. To first be able to toggle geofencing, you need to make sure you have your hub location set up. So in this case, I would just be capturing my location, my current location. Once your location is captured, you could also decide what your geofencing radius is. So in this case, I'll say within 5 kilometers, if I'm within 5 kilometers of my hub, I don't want people to be able to use my device. I can go all the way up to 20 kilometers or down to 1 kilometer. I'll keep it at 5 for now. Let's go to dashboard. Here I refresh, we see Kenley has accepted my invite. Logs say that as well. You can add the lock and the light, or in this case, you could also add just all the devices. So we will add the other 2 as well. And just for the sake of time, I will just have it for the light. So let's say once I'm home, I don't want him to be messing around with my lights. Oh, let's actually not do the light. Let's do the lock. While I'm home, I don't want him to be messing around with my locks and stuff. So I will just give him access always. I don't really mind when he's using it. I just know I don't want him to be able to use this lock while I'm inside of the geofence radius. So I give him access to everything, but I turn on geofencing. If he tries to unlock, it'll say that he cannot use it at this time. I could also show you that in the alarm system, I'll give him always access. And I will enable all. So if he refreshes, okay, so now you can see that he has access to all the alarm controls and all of the sensors. But if I turn on geofencing, he will not be able to see those sensors. So no sensors available because we don't want him to be able to see that information while I'm in the home. And also if he tries to arm or disarm, it'll say that he does not have access at this time. There we go. Last but not least, just to round it out. Also, just because it's the only feature we haven't shown yet, if I, as a homeowner, decide that I want to be a guest for someone else's hub, I'm going on my own trip, or I am going to a friend's house, I can switch to my guest view. And this will treat my account now as a guest. Currently, I've not shared any hubs, but these are the notifications for previous hubs I used to belong to. And that is it.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I tested MiSu version 2 because I managed the previous team. So I knew what are the issues that the version 2 had. It's a great achievement. Like, really, you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Geo Fencing works and all the issues I remember clearly. And you know the log issues, like it didn't interact
Yeah.
with them
Hmm.
real time. So that was another issue. And you guys added so many other like security devices. That's cool.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mqtt.
Yeah, cool.
So I had a question about the scheduling. So whose time is used for the schedule? Is the hub's time or the person's phone's time?
Good question.
I think it's just a time zone. It's US East time zone. Is
Yeah.
what it's based on.
No, I mean, if I schedule a device for days.
Like it should be the hub's time zone because the home is in a physical
Yeah.
location,
Yeah.
right? So
Right,
just,
I was worried about the use, the person with the phone changing their time or date.
Oh.
Yeah. But I guess you don't have that problem. Okay.
So that we do not have that issue because it doesn't check the device's time. It checks time on the back end. But we do believe the back end is only focusing on one single time zone, the Eastern time zone. So I guess one improvement, honestly, that we didn't consider is getting the actual time zone of the user himself and themselves.
I mean, I think tying it to the physical location where the home is probably gonna be the best.
That actually
And then
should,
just putting a note in the app saying the time zone of the
Yeah.
home will be used.
that should
if
be a
the-
relatively easy thing to add because we're already getting the hub's location and it's very easy to just check what the time zone is and adjust accordingly in the back end.
Yeah. That's a good question, Gary.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Another question I had was, you said you found a bunch of security bugs. What kind of bugs did you find?
I guess I can answer this more so. It was mainly on the front end that there was just a lot of outdated packages that they were using. And a lot of these packages had some vulnerabilities, so they needed to be upgraded. They also, just a general way that they were storing some confidential information. For example, to be able to log in, if you've already logged in before and it's saved, it saves your username and your password, or they used to save your username and your password locally, unencrypted. So anyone who has any knowledge of being able to access your local storage would be able to see your username and password. So just adding general encryption also for like live streaming, that's a feature we added, but we made sure to be able to make sure we're encrypting the URLs and the IP addresses that we're receiving because we require a guest or a homeowner's IP address to be able to use that live stream.
I can add on to that too. Most of the
And this
APIs
is the first version of the app that actually had live stream working.
Yeah.
A lot of the APIs they had to access AWS had no authorization. I think they might have just forgot like some of the APIs to add the authorization. So anyone could just
Call the endpoint.
call the endpoint. So we added authorization to everything. So that's not a security thing we fixed.
You mentioned something about the time it takes to onboard a guest. How long is it in clock time to do that?
To onboard a guest.
So if we're talking about the entire onboarding process, which is from creating an account all the way to setting up your hub completely and seeing your devices, that can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, just depending on someone's knowledge of how to use a Raspberry Pi. For example, when we were setting up things for Lena, it would take a kind of like, it has somewhat of a learning curve if you've never used a Raspberry Pi before. That being said, I believe we've decreased the amount of time it takes a lot by having things such as like the onboarding screens that kind of walk you through what the app does and what website you need to go to.
One thing I want to clarify is the difference between a homeowner and a guest. One of the assumptions that we're making in this app is that the homeowner is somewhat of an expert user because they already have these smart devices in their home. Whereas the guest, we're making the assumption that they don't know how to work with these smart devices at all. Because usually if you're a homeowner, you at least have to be able to set up some sort of hub in your home to get the devices to work.
So to specify more so, as a guest, onboarding is instant. It's very quick and easy to understand how to use the smart devices.
Yeah, because if my mother comes over, I don't want to have her to wait an hour.
Yeah, no. Oh, and also an hour also includes like if you don't have your devices already set on Home Assistant. So again, like Pam was saying, assuming that this is a homeowner that already uses Home Assistant as their hub for smart devices, this app works really well as an extension for that. And it should be relatively quick to get everything working and onboarded.
Thank you all for your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you
Thank you.
all very much. Thank you, Lena, Pam.
Yeah, great job. I
Lena,
want,
Pam.
Nice.
later on, I want us to get a group shot, but I'm too like sick right now to worry about it. So, but you guys did a great job and I look forward to like, this is the first time I'm excited to test this app myself, because before I was like, oh, it's too much of a hot mess for me to worry about installing at my home. But now I want to try it out and see how it works. So good job, guys. Yeah.
Pam, we can take a photo of having you guys on Zoom and we are in person.
Can we do it like later? Just because I'm tired. Sorry.
I second that motion.
Can you take a picture of the people who are there plus
Yeah,
like,
sure.
yeah.
Good idea.
And then we can